exciting year for us. I'll tell you this, since we got beat at Arkansas, I knew that it was going to be a lot different. Obviously, you lose 4 tremendous seniors and a player like Jake Odom. There's time you say it's rebuilding, and I never want to consider and say you're rebuilding because you always want to contend for something, and that's what I want this program to be like. But when you have, for one, to thank my staff, obviously here, you guys all know them, but Lou and Marcus have been here with us, and then TP has been an unbelievable addition with his energy since he's been here. So our talent level has gone up every year. These guys recruit top-notch, starting local and spread out all over the country. The thing is about Indiana, it gets so over-recruited that you don't want to take someone just because they're local or someone because they're from the state of Indiana. Thus, we got a kid from Arizona, 3 from Texas, and we spread out all over the place a little bit. But one thing that's remained a constant is the quality of the young men that we bring in here. They're unbelievable to be around. They really are. You know, I'm as bad as anybody on if you're not playing well or somebody's not doing something well and you take a loss, just being really down, whether it be on myself or the team. But then when you see those guys and you know you got to lift them up and be there for them, and we're in a current situation like with something with Brandon Burnett, who just a special kid, worked unbelievably hard to be a key contributor for us this year. And you have a freak thing happen like what happened to him, he's not going to get it. You know, and every time you see that kid for the next 2 or 3 days, he's got tears running down his eyes. And you know, so our bigger part here than just coaching these guys is helping them as young men. And please, if you guys see Brandon, put your arm around him and talk to him, because he's having a tough time with it. But he'll be fine. He's around a bunch of good people. But again, since we got beat at Arkansas, we knew we were going to be different. I think as soon as that happened, you're looking at a Christian Smith, a Justin Gann, a Jake Kitchell, and a Devontae Brown. The switch was flipped. They're no longer under the umbrella of those seniors that they could rely on. Their production's got to come up. Their leadership has got to come up, and they've been terrific. They've always been really hard workers and good teammates, but now they have to. They're front and center. They have to produce for us to be a good team, and I really like what all 4 of those guys have done and will continue to do in leading these guys. We got a lot of new faces. Everybody knows about it. I don't want to be you obviously know my relationship with our players and the seniors that we had last year, and somebody like Jake Odom. I just don't want to talk about them all year. They did unbelievable things for this program and the things that haven't been done before, but it's unfair to these guys that we have to continue to do that. So I probably won't be doing that as much because we got to worry about our team. They've worked awfully hard summer, the last spring, continued to in the fall. And then we've been going pretty good. The NCAA allowed us to start earlier this year, so we've been able to piece together days off. It's a long time now. We're practicing here for quite a while. We're really beat up. We have, the NCAA gives you a couple scrimmages or a couple of exhibition games or a combination of both. We're doing a combination of both, but we're not allowed to talk about the scrimmages, even though we just had one. And lots of good things within that, and a lot of things that we need to continue to work on. But we're being really beat up. Kitchell's been out, Justin's been out. Continuing with Alex Etherington and Brent Scott from them stubbing their toe last year. They'll have to sit out the scrimmage and then the game against Tryon on Sunday. But we're really looking forward to it. Been a great group to be around. They're really hardworking, and we have a lot of people in here that have stopped by practice and done those things. And I just encourage you to do that. It may be a little different, and my staff may think I'm crazy about it. But for what matters to me most is continue to develop our program. Is putting you guys next to the type of young men that we have and see how hard they work on a daily basis. And I truly think it makes a huge difference. I want you to be upset when we lose. I want you to hurt like we hurt when we lose. But I want you to rejoice and be awfully excited when we win games. And we have a very difficult preseason schedule, but we've had more games in our home than we ever had. It's very hard. You can ask Lou anytime about scheduling. It's the absolute worst part of our job. But we got a little bit better of more home games and some of the opponents that are coming in. And we always want to go to, Bill Smock had told me we could play at UNLV every year to get him into Vegas. So we're trying to get him down there for a whole week this year. So hopefully a lot of you guys are going to follow us wherever it is on the road. But again, they're a fun group to watch. We have a long ways to go, but I like the talent level, and if we can make them a team, we certainly never think we're going to be finished. So people can pick us wherever they want, but we want to be in the conversation at the end of the year every year and be a tough team going into the tournament. Well, you can say rebuilding, but everybody loses seniors every year. We're going to lose Justin and Kitch after this year, so we're going to have to have guys step in. That's where your recruiting comes into it. We recruit year round. We've already got 2 commitments. We'll be having guys sign here coming up the 12th, I think it is. But then you're on to the next recruiting class. So that's never going to be a word we want to talk about here. Do you lose very important players, and do you have a chance to be as good as you were the previous years? Well, we always hope so. I don't think Wichita State's talking about rebuilding too much. They got great players coming year in and year out. So we don't want to dip. We don't want to dip. We want to keep it up there in the upper half of the league and contending for something and playing in important games late in February and into March.
At this point, what do you feel like this team's biggest strength is so far?
That's a good question. I'll say what our biggest weakness is, my biggest concern. Biggest concern is ball security, taking care of it. We had losing 2 guys last year that had the ball in their hand an awful lot and didn't turn it over very much and could make plays. And then that's DeJuan and Jake, but also Manny. Manny was a very good offensive player and a good on-one defender. So you're losing people like that, and just taking care of the basketball, being able to get organized and execute the things you're trying to do as a staff this year. We're going to have to probably control things a little bit more, and call sets or call this or that, so we can make sure Justin gets a touch here or Christian gets a touch here. We set Devontae up to make a play, do those types of things. So that's my biggest concern. We've had a tendency to turn it over here a little bit lately, and we've got to continue to work on that. But I think we'll be able to score it. You'd like to be able to play faster. We're going to play. Lou's finally stayed on me enough we practiced some matchup zone. We have an extending defense with a little bit of a run and jump, so we're always going to be prepared, but we're trying to do some different things too to give people different looks, which we probably in some games last year, like whether it be a Wichita State or something, probably should have changed things up a little bit, but you trust in the plan that you have defensively going into stuff, so I've been kind of stubborn not to do that.
Coach, kind of go along with that, talking in terms of guys can't be under that umbrella anymore, and the way the schedule is, especially in the non-conference, obviously that can't happen. With the schedule being so tough so early, what are some things that you're looking to get out of the early part of the season first?
Well, my approach to scheduling, other than letting Lou do it, is to just let's play. I want to play in tough venues. I want to play good teams. I am not in the least bit concerned about my overall coaching record, wins and losses. I hope Ron doesn't mind that, but if you're going to go to a Notre Dame like you did last year, you get a chance to win it. We did, and some of those games you're going to lose. But the bigger thing is, I want our guys to experience great venues, to play in some. Being in the Big Ten for 7 years, I know about some of the best places in the country, and there's some great ones in our league, and ours is getting better every year. So we're going to have to be ready. So you have to play some tough road games. You want to play in a competitive tournament in a nice destination, like we've been able to do with companies like ESPN that really like Indiana State basketball. So you want to get ready for. We better play some good teams going into our league. I'll tell you what, this year our league is phenomenal, and it usually is. I think it's a multi-bid league, but just schedule hard. Play tough teams. I think everybody in here would rather see us play a little bit different. You look at schedules. There's a couple other schools in the state that their preseason schedule isn't, their home games isn't anything great for the fans, and they're not doing that much. But we don't bite a lot of teams here. I think Ron had let us do that if we want to do it. But as far as like with football, we've had to do those things. It's just stuff you have to do. Everybody has to do it in our league, but we didn't do that this year. So just to play in great venues against real good teams, so you're ready when you go into Valley play.
They graduated, those intangibles, those sorts of things.
Really has. I think Justin at the end of last year, in the tournament, all of a sudden in huddles he's talking and he's into it. He's been a guy in his past that always a great kid, but just didn't say much, didn't know what to say, didn't watch even basketball in his own time, but now he's into basketball and watching it. And talking about it. He's gotten more competitive and better every year. Kitch has always been a great talker for us, even when he wasn't getting the minutes he should be, so that was easy for him. Christian's just been waiting for this. You know, he was one last year that said no, he wanted to be the sixth man, go in that role, and then he can move on after those seniors come in. Devontae, there's no tougher kid or harder worker than Devontae. I think Ron will tell you we're leaving for a certain thing that we can't talk about with our schedule, but before we left to go do this, Devontae Brown's in there at the gym at 5:30 in the morning shooting by himself before we go. You know, that's the kind of kid Devontae is. The only thing, and I ask you this, is I talked to Gordy a lot about it too, because Gordy's kind of taken Devontae under his wings. He always, when you say something to Devontae, he'll look at me with a scowl. He is not being disrespectful. That kid is not about that. He's about the right stuff. That's just kind of his natural response. He hasn't been disrespectful one day since he's been here. So I just want you to understand that he's not doing that. But he gets a voice. He's a tough kid and a hard worker. He gets to respond and talk things out with me. But he's been a great leader too. I'm just trying to get him to look a little more positive, the facial expressions, and tap guys on the butt instead of to jump down their throat a little bit.
Coach talked about some of the young guys. Obviously, you know, with the new guys, we haven't seen them on the floor yet. But just through the offseason, what are some positives you can take from the new group of sophomores?
Been really hard working, you know, and I think that you look at some of the stuff. Oh, excuse me. Right there. Some of the stuff Jason got from the Valley tournament, it really makes you feel good because you listen to a good friend of mine, Ben Jacobson, and Porter Mosier and Greg Marshall from the other teams talk about they've got a culture there now. And we do have a culture. We built a culture of winning. We built a culture of good guys that are going to work hard. And you know when you play Indiana State, you better play well, otherwise you're going to get beat. You better compete hard. So what we're trying to get these new guys to do is, and the older guys will get along. They already know how hard you work outside with your when you cross the lines. It's you're working hard, you're competing, you're doing this and that. But winning at this level is really, really hard, and those guys don't know about that yet. They're going to find out real quick. You have to do hard things. You have to do difficult things because winning is difficult. You have to be able to do tough things. So that's the biggest. They're good guys. They're working hard. They're talented. But until you get smacked in the nose, you know, against somebody else, then how are you going to respond? And that's what we're working on every day. It's easy for him because he thinks he should get all the shots anyway. With Christian, yeah, there's no question. I think we went over to his high school recruiting one day, and one said, Christian really felt like you couldn't turn him loose. You didn't let him do what he wanted to do on offense. And I came back and asked Christian about that. No, I never said that because he always had the green light coming off and had some really big games for us. I've known him for a long time. He has grown up a lot as a man. He's a personality. I used to say about different guys, but he's kind of a personality of our team. He loves basketball. It's so important to him. And doing those things, but yeah, he knows, he's been waiting for it. He wants to be someone we look at to produce, and I'm sure he will. Pretty easy it's pretty easy with the returners there. I would have to guess that Kidge and Justin and Devontae and Christian will be in the starting lineup. We're kind of, our point guards are a work in progress, although those guys are very talented, very good players, do a lot of nice stuff, just getting them to understand how we play a little bit, the things you're required to do at both ends of the floor. I don't want to have Devontae run point all year. He's counted on at the defensive end too much. It'd be unfair to him to do that because it's not his natural position, although we'll have the ball plenty in his hands. But with Brent and Trey, a lot of good, but also a lot of, they've kind of got my wrath a lot. We'll continue to do so probably, but as long as they can handle that and buy in, we'll be just fine because those guys are both good players. Obviously, you hang your hat with everybody knows about Wichita. They're going to be one of the best teams in the country again. They got NBA guards, and all of them are back. And the preseason, like 3 of them are on first team in the preseason, and they got their best big guy back. So they're going to be what they are all the time because they got them sitting there waiting. Redshirting and doing all that stuff, but you look at UNI and Illinois State and Evansville down the road, and Missouri State. You know, you can go all the way down it. It's going to be really good. There's no question it's going to be a multi-bid league in my mind, and hopefully it's back to the normal. It took a bad rap last year, and the time you lose somebody, a program like Creighton with their success, and a player like Doug McDermott, it's hard for Loyola to come in and take their place. But this league's going to be fine, and the staffs are great staffs. They recruit very good players with type of guys that help them out. So I think it's going to be a war. The Valley this year, it's going to be a lot of fun. Joey, you ready? You're up.